Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 10th voting meeting of the Keystone Central School District Board of Directors. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. The Pledge of Allegiance to the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
Roll call, please, Patty. Mrs. Donahue?
Here.
Mr. Elling?
Present.
Mr. Johnston?
Here.
Mr. Knopf?
Here.
Mr. Koch? Mr. Koch? Ms. Lynch? Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mrs. Smith? Here. Mr. Strauss?
Right beside you.
7 members present.
Does it give us a option to be able to share screen? Because I want to share my screen for their presentation.
If you hit the screen button, it won't do anything. You need to go to the participant list. Find Jackie.
What do you want to do, Jackie? I have instructional technology, the boardroom. And the
Not the board.
It's just listed as Keystone Central School District.
Oh, there it is.
Okay.
And then.
I don't remember all.
Come on. Right there. While Bo's doing that,
I renamed myself.
the Board of Directors held an executive session on March 3rd from 8:39 PM to 9:05 PM to discuss personnel
I
matters.
can't do it because I'm.
It looks like I have now. I can do it.
I think Jeremy gave it to you.
Okay.
Those tricky tech people.
Yeah, thank goodness they're back
Jeremy
there.
or Chad.
They're online. So our first or only presentation this evening is from the Sugar Valley Rural Charter School. It's their annual report.
So I'm working on getting this presentation up for you, Tracy.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for having us here today. So we're just going to start a little bit with the communication between Keystone Central School District and SVRCS. So we definitely have more communication than what we've had in the past. Dr. Martin and I, we meet each month and we are comfortable reaching out to each other whenever the need arises. She always includes me in the decision when we're closing for snow, and I appreciate that.
We appreciate your feedback too. It's a two-way street.
And the Keystone Central School Board was invited to see the campus on October 26, 2021. And we had 2 school board members present and Miss Jackie Martin herself. And although it was raining, we managed to get through it. With an open campus, it was raining pretty hard that night. Our enrollment, we have downsized. It's around 474 right now, and at the elementary, the kindergarten, you can see us 35. First grade's 34 and second grade's 35. Third grade's 35. Fourth grade is 38. Fifth grade is 36. Sixth grade is 38. And then if we go to the middle high school, 7th grade is 38. 8th grade is 38. And then 9th grade is 39. Or I'm sorry, 9th grade is 37. 10th grade is 37. 11th grade is 37. And then we have 37 seniors. Had a lot of transitioning this year. Just a lot of people moving out of state even. So noticed that a lot this year, out of state, out of the area. The total enrollment has 474. We still have a waiting list. And we're still planning on the lottery in April. So, and we just had our kindergarten registration. So the 5-year trend is to stay with the 475 until the next charter renewal process. And we're already actually at our cap requirement. So I just wanted to let the board know that sometimes parents will unenroll for different reasons, and we're seeing a a trend of going home to just stay at home and go to a cyber school. So I do recommend they go back to Keystone Central and apply for their cyber school, because I'd rather see them go back to Keystone Central and do that than go to another cyber school at this point. So
Tracy, I just wanted to say I appreciate that you do that. I think that shows a lot of effort about the partnership that we've been trying to build over the last 3 years between the district and the charter school. And I just want to say thank you for doing that.
you're welcome. So the fiscal report, our auditor, Peg McCloskey, stated that there were no findings for the 2000, I think that should say June of 2020 instead of 21 there. So that's what they usually report on as the year before. Highlights the Sugar Valley has, we have now 3 governmental funds. So the capital project funds, and what that is, it's a general fund used for the general expenses of the school. This would be the regular and special education, transportation, administration, and community activities. So that's a fund. And then the general fund is the capital projects fund. We use this for the new gym project and the purchase of the original school complex. The fund is also used for any future capital projects of this nature. And then we also have a student activities fund, which is used for various clubs and classes throughout the school. And the propriety fund is the food service fund for the revenues of the cafeteria. Assets, just basic cash and investments. All of the school's monetary assets are held in deposit accounts at the bank. There are no investment accounts. The deposits exceed FDIC limits, but are secured by the bank's pledge of securities in accordance with Pennsylvania state law. And then we also have our general fund balance. As of June 2021, it was $4,798,058. The committed portion of the general fund balance is capital acquisition, which was $2 million. We use this for the gym project and purchase of our original campus. The fund will also be used for any future capital project needs. The other one is the summer payroll and benefits was $501,473, and the summer operating expenses was $1 million. We had some restricted funds for our mortgage retainer, which was $1 million. So that's set aside. The SVRCS board uncommitted the remaining funds for the summer payroll and summer operating expenses and capital acquisitions on 12/14/2021. Our budget outlook. Our budget is currently not ready, as in every year we get it ready by May, they do a draft, and then we get it finalized in June, which we can send over when it's ready. The Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund for the ESSER funding for the 464,943 that we got, the ESSER 2 fund, we designated that for the installation of modern HVAC system to promote clean air. And that's in our D building. So it's the older part of the high school. So that will happen this summer. The American Rescue Plan Elementary and Secondary Schools Emergency Relief Fund, or the ARP ESSER Fund, the $940,445 is designated for the new math and ELA curriculum and interventions, curriculum specialist salaries and benefits, Chromebooks, hotspots, and mental health trainings. The curriculum specialist, a little bit about that. In addition to the funds spent on the new ELA and math curriculum that we just bought this year, we plan to allocate funds in the following ways. So we're going to have summer tutoring costs and updating the Chromebooks fleet, some hotspots, funding for the 3-year curriculum specialist position that we hired that's examining the data and giving us important feedback, mental health training, remaining HVAC costs, and supplemental intervention ELA programs, the News ELA, Common Lit, Actively Learn, and Read 180. Supplemental intervention math programs such as Get More Math and Math 180. Also, we have the ARP ESSER set aside consolidated funds. The $43,579 is designated for the Read 180 and Math 180 to continue that. The ESSER funding for the ARP ESSER 7% set aside consolidated total of $73,094 is designated for the mental health and emotional well-being motivational speaker for the PBIS and the PBIS incentives and supplies, after school programs, salaries and supplies, summer program salaries and supplies. Which moves me to the facility report. So I just wanted to let you know the gymnasium is completed. We have a few little things we're yet trying to work out the kinks on, so we're not completely satisfied, but it's moving in that direction very
Tracy,
quickly.
I have to admit, that thing is freaking awesome.
It is beautiful.
It is.
It is
It
really,
is.
it's really nice. Thank you. I really appreciate that. We're hoping, and just a little bit about it, we're hoping to open the weight room to the community. We got some funding donated to us to hire somebody for like a 3 hours in the evening. So we have that out there right now. And so we're hoping to hire somebody soon for that. In September of this past year in 2021, we met with, well, we were working on it for a very long time, met with SVCC, and we actually purchased the property that we're on from them. So we have a lease through them for about 9 years, something like that. Well, it's actually, we purchased it. We're just paying on a mortgage type thing. It's ours. The D building that was part of the original high school, which I've already said, was where we're putting the HVAC upgrade for the ESSER funding. In November of 2018, the Every Student Succeeds Act determinations were designated statewide. And we, as you know, we're one of the 200 Pennsylvania schools named for the additional targeted support improvement, or are known as ATSI, based on the 17-18 PSSA reading math growth in subgroups economically disadvantaged white. Our attendance in this group was another factor in this determination. The IU-10 was designated to support and guide us through a school improvement plan, which is currently in place. The Bureau of Special Education Compliance Monitoring went very well. The final report is not yet closed by PDE. The SVRCS improvement plan in the area of least restrictive environment needs to be reviewed for success. This ensures that we continue to decrease the percentage of students receiving supplemental level supports in favor of itinerant level support in order to meet the average state percentages. We plan to accomplish this by continuing the transition to more co-taught classes. And I think I spoke about that last spring. So on this year, on January of 18th of 2022, we did receive a letter stating that all areas have been corrected as of January 10th. The school improvement plan will remain open until the specific action of those items have been completed as approved by the advisor during the summer of 2022. And then according to our accuracy certification statement of average daily attendance, in 2020-21, it was 94.57. And in the year previous year, it was 93.13%. And then the athletic count for this year, in 2021-22, you can see, I don't know if I need to read all that, but.
Tracy, can I just ask you a question
Yeah.
about the attendance rate?
Sure.
So there's obviously different ways to measure the attendance rate, just to be sure. This is average daily attendance versus the SPM measure of the percentage of students who are in attendance 90% of the time or better. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, this is what we report to PIMS, which is the state. So,
Okay, so that is done different. So that's like your, each day, that's the number of percentage of students who are present.
Right.
So what's measured in the SPM, by the state, is the number of students who are in attendance, the percentage of students who are in attendance 90% of the time or better. So basically, if they miss more than 18 days or 20 days in the school year, then they're not in there. So
okay,
I just want to make sure that we were talking about the same thing.
okay. So the sports, obviously, we have golf and volleyball. We have competitive cheer and the varsity wrestling and junior high wrestling, baseball and softball. We also have intramural sports, junior high softball and junior high girls volleyball. We have an intramural cheer team. We've also just developed our color guard. They've developed a competition team too. So that just is current. So they've competed and went to a couple of tournaments. So
Excuse me, you don't have to have a junior high baseball team, do you?
not yet. I think they keep working on it. We, in order to develop our baseball, we've been having like a baseball camp. So we're trying to get things started in that. That's why we have intramurals and things, just to get
Thank you.
the kids interested in. You're welcome. And that is it for my report.
Dr. Martin said, I'm Brock Phillips, I'm the supervisor of curriculum and instruction at Sugar Valley Rural Charter School, and I've got some information about the academic health of our school over the past year. So to start off, I have some information about PSSAs that I've gotten from the data interaction tool from eMetrics. Third slide is third grade measures. So what you're going to see here is 2021 ELA and then mathematics performance. The percentage of students passing in third grade for ELA was 30.6% in the spring, and then 36.1% then for the math exam in third grade. Fourth grade includes the science exam. So the number of students passing ELA PSSAs in fourth grade was 32.1. 29.6% of our students in fourth grade passed the math PSSA, and then 60.7 was the pass metric for the science exam. For fifth grade, the pass rate for ELA was 36.8, and for math was 31.6. Sixth grade, we had 42.1% of students pass ELA and 8.3% for math. For seventh, 26.4% overall passing ELA exam and 7.7% for math. And then in eighth grade, once again, we have the science exam showing up. Pass rate for ELA was 11.5%, math 2.8, and then the science 38.2%. For our Keystone exams, we have information about the spring and winter administrations over the past year. Perhaps the two data reports could be juxtaposed there. For the winter, at the bottom of that slide, we had 3.8% pass, but then the spring we had 10.6%. For biology, in the winter we had 12.1%, and then spring was 10.3% overall pass rate. And for literature, in the winter we had 23.9% pass, in the spring 8.8%. The following few slides have to do with map growth tests, which are part of our charter agreement. So 3 times per year, we share the students' map data with the students as well as with families. Twice per year, at parent-teacher conferences in November and February, we review this data in detail with parents who opt for a conference. We also share strategies that we're using in the classroom to meet students' individual needs, as evidenced by these map test RIT scores for instructional areas, and also to provide suggestions for how parents can best help their students continue to grow in conjunction with and beyond what's done in the classroom as well.
Brock, could you clarify for the board what grade levels you use your MAP assessment for?
So MAP assessments are used in grades K through 12. All of our students take MAP tests 3 times per year. This is our kind of baseline, excuse me, the comprehensive assessment that we use to track students in a norm reference manner. So that way we have an objective measure of where our students are norm ranked nationally. The first report that you'll see following that title slide is the proficiency report, projected proficiency. And so this report is used to project how students are going to do in the upcoming PSSA exams. So without reading through all those metrics there, you can see in the green and blue columns, those are the percentages of our students in each of the grade levels 2 through 8 who are projected to be either proficient or advanced on the spring PSSAs. You can see here, these projections are a bit higher than what we had seen on the most recent PSSAs from 2021. And so we're pretty optimistic about this upcoming spring. Overall, in 2 through 8, we're seeing 26.1% of the students projected to pass. You can see kind of a skew toward the younger grades where we're seeing 50% and even a bit higher for projected pass rates for PSSAs. And that was for math. For language arts, we see that number a bit higher. From grades 2 through 8, we can see a 46.9% of our students that are in grades 2 through 8 that are projected to pass their PSSAs this year. Since the MAP testing system doesn't produce those same kinds of predictions for the Keystone exams, the next few slides just show some information about how our students scored overall, broken down into quintiles. And the quintiles, just for everybody's information, is taking 100% of students and breaking those down into from 0 to 20 percentile of achievement, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80, and then 80 to 100th percentile. And those are listed from left to right, from low, low average, average, high average, and high. Just to give you a little bit of information, using the 40th percentile as a benchmark for being in that average and above category, For our 12th graders, for math, 53% scored above the 40th percentile. For 11th graders, 26%. Our 10th graders for math, it was 36% scored above the 40th percentile, and then 9th graders, 46% of our students scoring above the 40th percentile. For the reading map test, for our 12th graders, 55% of them who were tested scored above the 40th percentile. Our 11th graders, 31% scored above the 40th percentile for the reading exam. Our 10th graders, 34% scored above the 40th percentile, and 45% of 9th graders scored above the 40th percentile. What you'll notice in the next slide is that it's missing 12th grade because there are no norm reference, so no normative measures that are available for 12th graders. It's something that is built into the system. So for our 11th graders, 26% scored above the 40th percentile for the language usage exam, which is a bit different than the reading exam. 46% of our 10th graders scored above the 40th percentile on the language exam, and 44% of 9th graders scored above the 40th percentile. So once again, those are just the percentages that are average achievement or above. Following slide has some information about Read 180 and System 44, which are once again part of our charter agreement with KCSD. Students that are measured to perform below grade level are placed into a class where they'll be instructed using Read 180. A number of our students who are significantly below grade level are receiving instruction through System 44, which is the Tier 3 intervention, which is kind of one level beyond what Read 180 does. What we noticed this year is that there's a bit of a decrease in scores from the beginning of the year to mid-year. Part of this was due to timing of the exams, but we also use that information to take a look at how we are implementing these interventions with our students. As you'll see in just a little bit, we had some success with some of our 5th and 6th graders using Math 180, and we're going to take a page out of that playbook in order to try to make what we're doing with Read 180 much more effective, because we did see much greater gains in the 5th and 6th grade with Math 180. Get to that in a moment. The following slide has the Math 180 information, 2021 to 22 school year. You'll see two charts here. One shows course 1, which is our 5th and 6th grade level content, and then course 2 is for 7th and 8th grade. Comparing the average quantile growth between those two subgroups, we can see that the 5th and 6th graders had a much higher average quantile growth. Those students were receiving instruction from Math 180 that worked in conjunction with the core program, which I will address in a moment as well. So just the methods that we're using to make sure that our students are receiving the regular ed instruction in the main classroom, but then also receive supplemental instruction with Math 180 seems to be producing wonderful gains. And so once again, we're trying to use that success with our 7th and 8th graders with Math 180, as well as with all our students that are receiving instruction with Read 180 and System 44 as well. Study Island is a program that we're using as a second level of assessment as well as an intervention K-12. So what we're able to do with that program is we can take our MAP scores and then import them into Study Island. The program will produce individualized learning pathways for our students based off of their scores, drill down all the way to the instructional areas, which are kind of the subcategories within math and ELA. Our goal overall, based on some research, is to have all of our students spend at least 30 minutes in the program practicing math skills and 30 minutes per week practicing ELA skills. As of very recently, we are seeing a lot of our classrooms actually exceeding those to a rather great degree. In a number of classrooms, we're seeing where students are spending upwards of an hour in each of those areas in Study Island. And also we are seeing a bit of a correlation as well between the number of minutes that are spent there and the growth that we're seeing in the MAP tests. And so we are continuing to try to incentivize for our students spending a little bit more time even outside of school. We are helping our teachers to find time within the school day where they can implement this intervention. And of course, the students that are really digging in are seeing the results of that. The next few slides show a little bit of information about our new elementary, what's a K-8 math program that we've adopted this school year. It's from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. It's Math in Focus. This program is based in Singapore Math. It is inquiry based, and it contains a norm reference benchmark assessment that is implemented 3 times a year as well. So we're exploring the idea of potentially trying to move toward using this as one of the assessments that we've officially registered with the agreement. At this point, still just in the exploratory phases of that. But in the next few slides, I'd just like to share a little bit about some of the growth and the gains that we're seeing using that program with our students. So these next few slides are just a snapshot of a couple classrooms. This is a kindergarten class, Miss Hipples. The first chart that you see there is a collection of all of our students' scores on the initial benchmark exam at the beginning of the year. What you can see there is that we had a great number of students that were below level at the beginning of the year. There were 9, whereas there were 7 on and 1 above level at the beginning of this year. And then at the mid-year mark, we only had 2 that were left in that below level area, had 9 on level and 6 above. So the program at this point is showing us that it's really exactly what our students needed to promote a lot of inquiry and investigation rather than some of the other programs where it was more direct instruction.
So Brock, just for a point of clarification.
Sure.
So the HMH Math and Focus is the curriculum series that you are implementing in your elementary schools. And then this is a curriculum-based assessment that comes with that same program.
That's correct.
Okay.
And it is actually also based on the same score or the same scale that the Math 180 program uses as well. So it is a perfect complement to what we're already doing with that program. We're actually using we're using those reports in conjunction to help to identify students for placement within Math 180. The following slide, Miss Hinton's class, you can see there that at the mid-year point, we no longer had any students that were coming into the below level category. So once again, we're seeing great gains out of this program. And we're very excited for the end of the year assessment now because of that. Ms. Rossman, first grade. We started the year with 5 students below, and now we only have 1 that's coming in there. 10 students on level and 1 above, and now we've got 9 students on level and 7 students above level. So once again, seeing great successes here with this program. The Servant's third grade class is seeing similar growth. Although we don't have quite as many that are above level, we've moved a significant number of students from the below level categories up into the on level. Again, very optimistic about the end of the year assessments. Ms. Blazina teaches 4th grade. With a number of students, a significant number of students in this classroom coming in at the beginning of the year below level, we've kind of flipped that report on its head and brought many of those students up to being on level at this point. This is a teacher who really goes above and beyond for her students and has really bent over backward this year, and the results are pretty wonderful. The following is Miss Lamy, a 6th grade teacher. And this year in 5th and 6th grade, we have asked our teachers to specialize in one or the other of the programs that we've adopted. So Miss Lamy is the 6th grade math teacher. So she teaches both of our sections of 6th graders using Math in Focus. Class 1 is her homeroom, and Class 2 is the other 6th grade teacher's homeroom students. But once again, we are seeing those same kinds of upward trends. So from the beginning of the year to mid-year, we're seeing a significant number of students who began the year below level that are coming in on or above level. So we're very pleased so far with the progress we've seen out of this program, and once again, very excited for the remainder of this year. So in addition to the Math in Focus program for our elementary, we've also adopted a new elementary ELA curriculum. Kind of a big year for us. So through the Savas Learning Company, which is formerly Pearson, we've selected and implemented MyView Literacy and My Perspectives. MyView Literacy is a K-5 program, and My Perspectives is the 6th grade component. It's actually a 6th through 8th level program, but currently just implementing that with grade 6. The data that I've included in the following slide, Savas Learning Company, MyView Literacy, and My Perspectives, is actually a snapshot of the MAP data for our students. So these are a compilation of the individual grade level projections for pass rates on the spring 22 PSSAs. So for grade 2, we can see here it's 37.1% of our 2nd graders projected to pass their PSSAs based on that assessment data. 60% of our 3rd graders, 38.4% of 4th graders, 44.5% of our 5th graders, and 62.6% of 6th graders are all projected to pass their PSSAs this year. So a marked upward trend here from what we have seen in years recently.
When you say they're going to pass it, are you talking when they're going to reach proficiency or better?
Yes. Absolutely.
Since second graders don't take the PSSA, I'm guessing that there's some of the second graders, if they were taking the third grade standards, that's what they would be receiving.
Right. Thanks for that.
I thought you had knew something we didn't.
Yeah. The following slide shows some information from a program called Success Maker. It's another program that we've adopted this year. It works in conjunction with our MyView Literacy program. Success Maker is also published by Savas Learning Company, formerly Pearson, and it is the Tier 2 intervention program that is aligned with that core instructional program for ELA. So far, we've implemented this for our students who have some significant learning needs in K through 6. What is important to take away from this, in the top of the two charts here, IP level is initial placement level. And so this is a standard across all students K to 6 that were placed in this program this year. The initial placement level across all our students on average was a 3.05, so just above a third grade level. And directly to the right of that is the academic year worth of gains. So this report was collected on February 14th. And so at that point, on average, our students in this program had gained 0.42 years of instruction, of proficiency rather, over the course of the school year so far. So that it seems to match up with the amount of time the students had spent in the program. However, with a number of to be expected hiccups in the beginning of the year and other technology issues, once again, I'm going to project that we're going to see much more than that over the second half of the year. Following few slides are a collection of data reports about our DIBELS assessments, which generally speaking is a measure of our students' fluency and reading abilities. So the next slide is showing the kindergarten and first grade information. So we can see there that the bars that are on the left side, so like the reds and yellows, are decreasing from the beginning of year to mid-year assessments. The advanced group did not necessarily grow, but the group that is proficient in green there did. For our first grade, we are seeing a little bit of a slide. And so I've been spending a little bit more time investigating why some of these things are happening, doing a little bit more observation in some of these grade levels. For our second grade, there was a bit of a decline there, but we did increase the number of students that were in the advanced category for fluency there. For third grade, we did see an increase in all of the upper categories and a decrease in our below and on levels as well. For fourth grade, we did see once again an increase in the advanced students, or students that are well above proficiency levels, a bit of a decrease in the general proficiency, and unfortunately a slight increase in the below level students. In fifth grade, once again, we saw an increase in the advanced level and a little bit of an increase in the number of students that are coming in below level. Sixth grade, fortunately, is showing that they are increasing both advanced and proficient students as well as decreasing the number of students that are coming in below level and on level. So an upward trend there in grade 6. Of course, we're using Smart Futures, Smart Futures program at our school in order to push our students to investigate future plans that they may have or to develop those a little bit further. So we're using this program with all of our students K to 12. In the youngest grades, students kind of explore their own interests and a little bit more about themselves. But as they get through to the middle school, they begin to put together more information aligned to careers. So things like a resume, they'll learn things about their own interests or their own aptitudes. And then the program helps them to identify pathways through post-secondary education and beyond that are going to be of interest to them and also play into their strengths. We currently use this platform to house the graduation portfolios that are aligned with Act 158. And we've been working closely with David Mosey at Smart Futures to help to tailor this to our own specific needs. So his team of graduate students from Carnegie Mellon has actually custom created some modules that we've put into our graduation portfolio so that students can continue to collect some of the traditional artifacts that we've asked them to include, such as work samples from various courses they've taken through their high school career. We're also using that portfolio to help collect artifacts aligning with Act 158. This year, we've also begun a career readiness course that all of our 11th grade students are required to complete. It's a half-year course, very intensive. And the purpose, of course, is to help the students to more deeply and comprehensively explore the career options and prepare for their own personal paths for life after graduation. At the end of the course, the students will have more or less fully fleshed out digital portfolio, once again housed in Smart Futures. And that portfolio is presented at the completion of the student's senior year. The instructor of this course has embedded numerous opportunities for students to connect with local industry leaders, as well as post-secondary institutions, as well as attending webinars with these leaders, all of which are aligned with Act 158 requirements for current 11th graders and students following for graduation in Pennsylvania. My final slide is just a collection of the new math and ELA curricula and also interventions. Some of these are in place at this point, and some are sort of under consideration as we move into the future. MyView Literacy is the core ELA program we're currently using in grades K to 5 through Savas Learning Company, and My Perspective is also at grade 6. Success Maker is the intervention program for grades K to 6 for English language arts that we're currently evaluating. Read 180 is implementing grades 7 through 9, as well as Success Maker there. Math in Focus is the K to 6 math program, and it feeds into the Into Math, which is closely aligned with Math in Focus at K to 6. Into Math is for our grades 7 and 8. And of course, Math 180 at grades 5 through 8.
So are there any board members who have any immediate questions for Tracy or Brock?
Tracy, I have a question. Could be a little uncomfortable, but it could happen. If the states changes funding for charter schools, what have you guys looked at what effect that would have on you?
We have a not at this time currently. So
I have a question for you about this career education and work, the CW or CEW standards. What, can you go a little bit in depth with what that really is? Because I mean, you just gathering information from these kids and saying, okay, well, you can go to college, or you would be best to go to a VOTech or something along that line?
well, the standards are in place for all schools. And that's something you have to complete and submit every so often. So the Smart Futures houses all of that.
Okay. I'm just,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's state standards that are
Yes.
uniform for everyone. And then for Keystone Central also uses the Smart Futures platform to help house and collect that
Yes.
information, because when the state audits us on that, then we already have a way to measure it and show that we're meeting the state requirements.
Yeah.
okay, so I'm gonna ask you the question then. Okay, same thing I asked them. I mean, is it one of those things where these standards here, by doing this will say,
It
you can go-
doesn't.
you should make it in college. You won't.
I
make it in
think you-
college.
I
You need to
think-
go to,
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I understand your question. The answer to that is no. Because nobody in a school system in 2021 should be sifting and ranking students' futures. What we should be doing is providing a lot of opportunities for students to explore and understand what type of careers are out ahead of them in our communities and in the world, and then help them kind of sift through what type of skills are necessary for particular jobs, or what type of certifications are necessary. And then the student can decide whether or not they believe they're best suited for those, what career pathways or interests do they have.
okay, so we're not actually
We're not
pushing
sifting and sorting,
towards
no.
No,
one way or
It's,
the other.
it's not the civilian ASVAB.
no.
Well,
No, but Roger, I think what you're saying is so true. Like, that is such an
Yes.
antiquated way. And the original public schools many
Years ago.
decades ago at this point used to sift and sort students to determine who was going to college or not. And quite honestly, if schools of the future want to be proactive, ranking and filing kids even by grades is so arbitrary and unfair.
Yeah.
And I think many people sitting at this table and in this room can say that at no time should your grades in school define who is successful and who is not. And so at any rate, thank you for asking the question. I'll get off the soapbox.
Okay.
I'm going to follow up with Roger's question just a little bit.
Sure.
I'm really proud of our CTC program here. Is that something that you guys have worked with? I mean, I'm sure there's students over at your school that might be interested that would benefit greatly from our CTC program. Have we ever discussed having some of your kids coming over here half the day, part of the day to participate in the CTC program?
I think it was mentioned a couple years ago, but we've never really.
Yeah, I
know,
think there are
delved into
some
that.
issues with students being enrolled in both schools, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't
it's,
sure of the
I say
funding
when the
and stuff.
classes are being given to, like what classes they're taking and versus where they're at here.
Okay.
So
do you,
that
do
would
you
be a
utilize any
consideration.
other career and technical centers?
No.
I had a couple quick questions for you about, first of all, you mentioned you're using some of your ESSER money for your summer program.
Mhm.
What does that look like? What kind of things are you doing? I know what we're doing here, but.
Well, right
um,
now, we're developing some sort of summer program. We're just in the throes of it right now for using our MAP scores and taking them and looking at them and what students could we provide extra services for to get them up to be on level. So we're hoping to provide it. So it's sort of like tutoring, but using the assessments and the data and all of that and bringing them in. So that's what we're going to be using for that.
So you use your test scores then to identify this,
Mhm.
and how are you gonna, what incentives are you gonna get them to come?
Incentives. That's a good one. We're hoping they just want to come on their own, but yeah, no, I mean, we're hoping to have.
I'm
different
sure they
things.
will. They'll be beating down the door.
Yeah.
Boom.
I know, we have a big recreation program over there on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so we're hoping to have it at that time so that they can just stay for recreation too. So, and we always have a huge turnout for summer recreation, at least between 60 and 80 kids in the summer and every Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we're hoping that will bring them in. And then we have our pre-K camp, our camp program for the kindergarten too. That's also what we'll be using it for. So, and that just helps this kindergarten students, they get to go get their lunch, so they know how to carry their tray, what are the rules of the classroom, and, just teaching them some basic things. So
Right.
we have a kindergarten camp that we use too for that.
And you mentioned earlier about your co-teaching. How does that look? How
The
do you,
co-teaching. Well, we have the learning support teachers pushing into some of the regular ed classrooms. We're doing it, using it that way. We had the IU come in and teach them how, different ways to co-teach, there's different ways you can do it. They can split them into groups, they can teach together. So it's been working quite well. Scheduling was a little more difficult because, we don't have a large selection of teachers. But so far it's been working pretty well.
is that just in your elementary or is it?
That's mostly,
Or
no,
your
that's high,
secondary?
that's 7 through 12. Yeah, that's
Okay.
7 through 12. The only thing we're really doing, shared teachers would be for the Math 180. We have a teacher that is actually taking some of those kids and giving the Math 180 while they're also during the day having the regular math program. So again, scheduling takes a lot of work to get that done, but we've been quite successful in that 5th and 6th grade area. So
If
We're
I
trying
may
to
add
move
on
that
just a little
along.
bit there.
sure.
With co-teaching at secondary, there's been a significant amount of training from the intermediate unit and a
Mhm.
significant amount of follow-up on my part.
Yeah.
I've realized this year that coaching is going to be an important part of my job moving forward. And so I've spent a significant amount of time in classrooms observing the strategies being used and then finding ways to work with teachers to kind of change things up. We have a lot of teachers who are comfortable with one teach, one observe, and one teach, one assist. But we're really trying to get teachers to break things down, compartmentalize a little bit, and then push things deeper so that we're getting more out of our students as well. So that's a big part of what I'm doing with the co-teaching initiative in our 7 to 12.
I've always found that co-teaching is not always used correctly.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you're
And
correct.
You
yeah.
have a person in there being a glorified
Teacher's
aide.
aid, yes, and that's what we do not want. So, so we did have the IU come in and then we reiterated that just recently again, because, they get comfortable and they fall into some other type of, where you don't want them to be. So then you have to look at that again and reevaluate it. So,
That's where a lot of the coaching really comes in play.
yeah. And like you said, he's able to get into the rooms and make sure that things are happening correctly. So,
Just making sure that we're always pushing to improve.
Okay.
So I thought there was some clear evidence that in the 5th and 6th grade, as you mentioned, is where you're seeing some better growth results. And those are the areas that you started 2 years ago with the intervention programs that the district required. So I'm curious as to whether or not you plan to expand the Read 180 into some more grade levels for next year, or if you're thinking 1 or 2 grade levels, or, bigger spans. What are you thinking?
So at this point, I've been doing a lot of research into potential intervention programs, but of course, Read 180 is one that, we're very comfortable with at this point. With that model at 5 and 6, where the students are spending a majority of their time in the regular education classroom, but then usually it's about 2 days a week that they're spending a portion of their 90-minute period out with another teacher, Title I staff. That's kind of the model that we're looking to adopt in all of those classrooms. So any class in right now it's 5 through 8 for math. It looks like there are a number of students in the grade levels a little bit beyond there that could still benefit from a little bit of support there. Of course, as you get older, I guess the skills that you're targeting are maybe not quite, what you're looking for in that Math 180 program, but I'm definitely doing the research and looking at all of our data that we have collected so far. Definitely looking to expand upward a little bit to reach some of those students who may not have gotten exactly what they needed just yet with those programs.
Great, thank you. Any other questions from board members here or on board members online?
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for your presentation. I hope that the two entities can continue to have a positive relationship. I think it's really important for all of our students for us to all be able to communicate. And I think that as long as we keep a positive relationship, that, everybody's going to benefit.
thank you.
Thank you so much. It was nice to hear from you and see all the good things you're doing over there.
Thank you for having us.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks.
Move on to the hearing of visitors. I have no visitors signed up to speak. All right, so then we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Be safe going over.
So Clinton County is currently designated in the moderate level of community transmission by the CDC. Our district numbers have remained very low. Last week, we only received notice of 4 secondary cases of students only, and 0 cases among elementary students or staff. This current week so far, of the 4 days, we only have 3 secondary student cases reported across 3 different schools. So again, these are the lowest numbers we've seen in a very long time, and we hope that continues to get even lower. This is something, it's not typical in the superintendent's report, but it is something that I wanted to bring forward to the full board, as well as start to let members of the public know that we are, I've been recently made aware of some significant issues within our transportation department. And the main issue becomes the ability for our contracted services to fill positions of bus drivers for existing bus runs. As many of you know, we went to a 2-tiered system, which ended up being a 3-tiered system to accommodate our bell schedules and try to free up drivers to be able to do 2 runs. For example, a driver could do the early elementary run and then go back out and pull a secondary run. Sometimes it's not always possible because of the long distances in which bus drivers need to get back out. So I know that we've been working very hard with Susquehanna Transit to find some efficiencies there, but it is becoming increasingly difficult to find drivers. Some of the leaders at Susquehanna are driving daily rather than just as substitutes, and some folks have come out of retirement to help fill the current bus runs. So there's not any wiggle room there at all. So this is not something that we would typically do in any school year, but we are looking at various possible solutions to help ease some of that strain. As of this evening, we have not made any changes, but we are exploring ideas with Cam and his team at Susquehanna Transit. If there are any necessary changes that need to be made, we will take extra measures to communicate with families in advance of any changes. Usually when bus runs are set for a school year, they're set for a school year, but it may be necessary for us to make some changes to those bus runs. The good news is that we did purchase a new system we may be able to use to help us find some efficiencies as well. So again, we're looking at a lot of different options, and I just wanted to make you aware of it. I didn't want to all of a sudden say, hey, we're changing bus runs and you didn't know about it or why. So I wanted to get out ahead of that and let you know that it's a problem we're trying to actively solve. The PDE, Bureau of Special Education, recognized Central Mountain Middle School for their participation in the Pennsylvania State Personnel Development Grant titled Middle School Success, the Path to Graduation, or P2G. Central Mountain Middle School was recognized for their dedication in building the capacity of staff to support students identified with emotional behavior disorders in achieving high school graduation and decreasing the likelihood of dropping out before graduating. Central Mountain Middle School teachers engaged in several professional development training sessions and coaching opportunities in order to improve student attendance, behavior, and academic performance. The team created an early warning system to identify and implement evidence-based interventions to attend to the unique educational needs of students. So they were actually recognized at the state conference, and I just wanted to let you know that happened as well. And board members that are here, if you can see this beautiful piece of artwork over on the left between the windows, at the state conference, Lisa Harvey was the successful winner of the artwork. She brought that back to the district. That we're getting a plaque to kind of explain, but that piece of artwork is a print that was based off of a project that students who are disabled and are in wheelchairs helped to paint. So if you get a close look at it tonight before you leave, you can see some handprints and some different pieces that students did. So we'll be getting a plaque, and we're planning to mount it on that wall. We kind of thought that was a good location, and it certainly brightens up this room. And it's always a great reminder that we should appreciate students with disabilities as well as their families and the teachers. So last week, following our meeting, I had one of the board members ask me why we didn't talk about some of the successes that we had this past winter in some of our co-curricular activities. So I have asked Mr. Hall and Mr. Hafley to provide me a list, because quite honestly, I was fearful that I would forget someone. And there's been so many great things to celebrate in our co-curricular activities lately. So the first thing I'd like to start with would be district chorus. Bucktail students Charlie Kepler placed 6th and Alexis Ahern placed 15th, and Charlie moved on to regional choir, placing 6th overall. In district band, Charlie Kepler placed 5th and Jeremy Zubak placed 9th. Also in our Bucktail High School, the boys basketball team improved from a record of 0-18 last year to a record of 0-18 last year to 9-13 this year. That's a huge change, with a 7th place seeding in the District 4 tournament. The team played the number 2 Northumberland Christian very well and headed into the 4th quarter only down by 1 point by eventually losing that game. So again, very competitive in the postseason, which is something we haven't seen in a while. The boys basketball also held the first ever tip-off tournament, Bucktail, to begin the year, earning a fantastic experience. Boys making the Mid-Penn League All-Conference team included Dylan Cross, the second team, Zach Pick, Braylon Fantasky, Brody Pence all made honorable mention, and Gene Bruno was the co-coach of the year in that league. Our Lady Bucks girls basketball team improved from 4-11 last year to 10-11 this year, with a 5th place seeding in the District 4 tournament. They also had a close game going into the 4th quarter, before eventually losing to St. John Newman. The Mid-Penn League all-conference teams included Mackenzie Wagner's second team and Julie Green as an honorable mention. Both girls and boys basketball teams participated in the end of season pink out games versus Gailton High School, which drew a very, very large crowd. I think some of you have seen the reporting on that. And then also a student from the Bucktail area, Dalton Perry, is a Central Mountain High School wrestler, and he is currently in Hershey as a state qualifier. He also, he was a district and regional champion to earn his way to Hershey. From Central Mountain High School, our wrestling team went 10-4 this year. They were the Big 7 league champions. They were second in the District 6 AAA, third in the Northwest region, with Dalton Perry, Luke Simcox district and regional champs. There were 11 regional qualifiers, 9 top 6 placers at regionals, including Dalton Perry, Luke Simcox, Taylor Weaver, Griffin Walliser, who are all in Hershey. Did ask Taylor Weaver to leave his Burger King singlet at home. Our indoor color guard has only had one competition thus far this season. They just started and they'll run to the last weekend of April. With the score that they received from that first competition, they're currently sitting 4th out of 23 color guard teams out of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Maryland. So I think we'll see some continued success from them. Our Central Mountain boys basketball team had has been having a great season, and they're still continuing into the second round of the state playoffs. As many of you are aware, some individual league recognition: Jack Hanna first team, Hayden Pardo second team, Cade McCloskey third team, and Brett Gerlach defensive team. As a team, they earned the District 6 Class 5A champions, and they are currently in the Sweet 16 moving forward in those playoffs. And I think many of you are aware that there will be a playoff game tomorrow evening against Newcastle. It was slipping my mind. Newcastle, and that will be played at Clarion University. And there's more ticket information available online. Unified Bocce Ball, first inaugural season was kicked off this year, and we were blessed to have a team that practiced and played cohesively with huge hearts. The Central Mountain girls swim team finished their regular season with a 9-2 record. Last year, they were 5-4. They finished second place at both the Blue Jay Invitational against 13 teams and the Williamsport Invitational 12 teams. Their Q2 average, their quarter, Stephen threw this one in here, throw me a loop. Their quarter 2 average of their grade point average for the team was a 96%. So that's clearly know that they're student athletes. Maddie Bear, Cameron Bear, Hannah Bryan, Autumn Garman, Abriana Hosley, and Anna Person qualified for districts. They finished third place as a team at districts, and Anna finished third in the 100 butterfly. She broke the school record for the 100 fly and the 200 free. Freshman Cameron Bear became the first Central Mountain girl in school history to win a district title in swimming to qualify for states. She won the 50 freestyle and set a new record and broke the Hollidaysburg High School pool record. She took second in the 100 freestyle, which was also a new school record, and she will compete in the PIAA state championship on March 16th at Bucknell University. Cameron also broke the school record in the 500 freestyle and the 100 backstroke during the regular season. The relay team of Anna Person, Hannah Bryan, Maddie Bear, Cameron Bear took home a silver medal in the 200 freestyle relay and a bronze in the 400 freestyle relay. Both relay teams were also new school records. Not done yet. The Central Mountain boys swimming team finished their regular season 7-3-1, where last year they were 1-8. They finished 5th place at the Blue Jay Invitational among 12 teams and 4th at the Williamsport Invitational among 13 teams. Their quarter 2 average GPA was close to the girls at 91%. Leisha Gugino, Jonathan Hughes, Jackson Walker, and Owen Wonder qualified for districts. The boys finished 4th as a team at districts. Jonathan Hughes finished 2nd in the 200 IM and 3rd in the 100 breaststroke at districts. The relay team of Owen Wonder, Jonathan Hughes, Jackson Walker, and Leisha Gugino took 2nd in the 200 freestyle relay and the 3rd in the 200 medley relay. gymnastics. We have students participating in that through the Lock Haven Area YMCA gymnastics team. They compete in the Allegheny Mountain Gymnastics League. And they, individuals from age 7 to 18 have won several all-around and event titles. Gymnasts in 9 through 12 can also compete in the PA Classic. And the team has increased membership from 9 students in 2019 to 25 for the 2022 season. The PA Classic is the equivalent of the PIAA state competition for the sport of gymnastics. And since our school does not have a team, they are allowed to qualify as representatives and represent their high school there. They must compete in 5 PIAA officiated competitions and acquire a minimum score to qualify. So that's a pretty big feat in itself. Since 2014, 14 gymnasts has qualified, 8 representing Bucktail, and Central Mountain has medaled 27 times and 2 state champions and 2 runners-up, with 1 gymnast being a back-to-back runner-up on vault. This year, Central Mountain had 2 freshman gymnasts competing in PA Classic. With our growing number of athletes, we hope to even have more qualify for next year. And I apologize, I do not have the names of those gymnasts. Let's see. Girls basketball is the final one, and that would be Kiana Jones, second team, PHAC Division I Coaches All-Star Selection. Miba Kopachanski, third team, Division I Coaches All-Star Selection. Coach Scott Baker, Thomas A. Klein Sportsmanship Award for girls basketball, presented by the Lycoming chapter of the PIAA basketball officials. So there is a lot to be proud of at Keystone Central. I think that when I read this list, it makes me think about where we were 3 years ago when we talked about changing some culture and trying to move to a winning culture, not necessarily wins and losses, but measured by what our students are gaining from our co-curricular activities. And when those things are happening, then we know the wins come. And so can see some clear progress with that. And just want to thank all of our coaches for the extra time and effort that they put into our programs, along with the many, many volunteers who I know we could not be successful without all of their support. That is all I have.
All right, wonderful.
Dr. Martin, I have a question. Since you brought up the issue of transportation, I'm wondering, have we heard anything from Susquehanna regarding whether we might be seeing a fuel surcharge or anything like that that could be increasing costs to the district, seeing how diesel fuel is $5.50 a gallon right now?
So yesterday, every week there's a transportation meeting, but there was a big transportation meeting and it was actually held here yesterday. Shelley Ott was, working with folks from Susquehanna. And most of the conversation yesterday revolved around the roads and dismissal times. However, as of right now, I have not heard anything of that nature. I'm not sure if anything's been forwarded to you, Susan.
No, the fuel and the cost of the fuel is all written in their contracts. Susquehanna covers those charges out of our state contracted rate. The
Okay.
only further discussion that we've had with Susquehanna is to come forward to the board at a later time. Is a flat rate for some of our additional bus runs that are happening with after-school programming and those sorts of things. State formula doesn't always cover the cost of those runs.
Okay.
So we'll let you know if anything comes out of that, but certainly is something that we're watching on locally as well as statewide and nationwide.
All right, thank you very much. Committee reports, policy committee met yesterday. Elizabeth's not on, so do you have a summary?
Sure. Give me 1 second and I can pull it up.
You have a
Do you want to
couple.
let somebody else go while I get this?
I
those
think,
notes
did
up?
any other committees meet in the last week? I don't think so.
No.
We were at.
No pressure.
Sorry.
Time's
guys.
Well, Patty, I'll go from memory since you took notes.
I was trying to find them and send them to you.
Patty, to get it over there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I know we started with 2 policies that were tabled from the previous committee meeting, and they're on the agenda tonight for first read, and that would be policy 805.3. I thought there was a second one we were moving forward for. Oh, actually, that was for, they'll be moved forward for next month. We also talked about policy 918, which is on tonight's, because even though the board approved that in the fall, it has to be approved, or they approved it in this last spring. It has to be approved annually for Title I requirements. So it's on the agenda again. There are no changes to our existing policy, but it is a monitoring requirement, and we're currently in that monitoring, federal monitoring. We came up with a plan that every year in August or September, we're going to approve that with every routine approval, so we don't have to continue to do that. So you will see that on there. I believe the board members received an email telling you that it would be on the agenda as well. We also reviewed several policies in the 200s. I believe there were 5 of them. And this is part of our routine policy review. There were no major changes to any of those, and we will be bringing those forward for first read next month. And they'll end up being marked as reviewed and updated. So just part of our routine revisions to the policy manual.
All right. We had the informational items, again, still on here, treasurer's financial reports and enrollment report. For the board, there's the resolution in support of the school funding litigation. That's on here. And I think we also, there was a letter drafted for other entities in the area.
Yeah,
to
so if
join
we're
us.
successful in passing this evening's resolution, we are prepared to then send a letter from board leadership to many of the municipalities, asking for their support and encouraging them to do the same resolution.
Okay. And as an informational item, Elizabeth Lynch plans to attend the PSBA Spring Legal Roundup Training Session on March 22nd at no cost to the district. Okay. Okay, Mr.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the entirety of the agenda unless anybody has any separate items I'd like to pull for separate discussion.
I
I'll
would
second
like,
that.
I would like to pull item J14. Only because it requires its own individual roll call.
Thank you.
I don't have a problem with it, it's just.
Procedural.
Yeah. All right, so I have a motion and a second. For the entirety except for J14. Can I have a roll call, please? Mr. Elling,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Knopf,
Yes.
Ms. Litch, come in. No. Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith? Yes. Mr. Strauss?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to pass J14.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please. Mr. Elling,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Knopf,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith? Yes. Mr. Strauss?
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn?
I'll second that.
Thought you would.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.